There we go. Well, we're live. We're here. We can wait a few minutes until it ticks over, I guess. There we go. Just looking down the list to see who else is here. Just checking, the emails have gone out saying we're about to start 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Okay, people are starting to arrive now as well. Welcome along, everybody. You can remember which camera to look at. I've got a couple of cameras here.
Yeah, where we're looking.
That's it. Okay, welcome along, everybody. I can't believe it's been, sort of over a week. Never mind about a week and a half since since its breakthrough event. It's gone really, really quickly. I don't know about you, Neil, but I managed to get home, caught up on a few things, caught a cold.
Yes. Can't blame me.
There we go. So we can't let things stop us. So well, we've got everyone now arriving into this Google Hangout. If you haven't done a Google Hangout before or a webinar like this before, it's a little bit more interactive because obviously we're on camera, and also we can share screens with you as well. So it makes sense instead of just using GoToWebinar, which is what we used to use, where you just see the slides moving on the screen. We know sometimes people used to go and check Facebook and check their emails and things. You can actually see us as well, but there is a bit of a delay sometimes between what we say and then it going through the internet and then it coming up on your screen. So we know there's a bit of a delay sometimes, so we just need to be aware of that. But welcome along. Neil's here with me as well. Do you want to say hi, Neil? Yeah,
good evening. I think we spoke a little bit about Hangouts at the event, didn't we? So we said we're enjoying it, new technology. There will be mistakes as we go along, no doubt, but hopefully we think it's a lot better, a lot more interactive. You can see us, chance to ask questions as well. So welcome everybody. You can still see people coming in.
And just to let you know about the chat facility. So what we like to do is, so there's not a lot of background noise with everyone's mic being live. There's a little chat window over on the right hand side of your computer screen over there. The idea being that there are some little tabs. You can go to the chat window, and you'll be able to type your question to us. In fact, if you just give us a quick hi or hello in the chat window, we know you can see us. I've just written a message in there for you as well. Then it means that perhaps you can let us know whether you can hear us. So if you can hear us, say yes, I can hear you. That'd be absolutely fantastic. And I can even see Neil joining in as well. So that's great to see you participating there. Okay, Neil. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to flick my screen over onto showing the PowerPoint presentation. So let me just go and do that, and then you can let me know if anything else changes. There we go. So when I'm talking, hopefully you see the slides, and when Neil talks, it will probably swap back to Neil speaking.
Excellent. People still coming in, so you can hear us loud and clear.
Okay. Right then, Neil. Shall I move on to the first slide?
Yeah, let's crack on. So we were talking with people and saying, listen, we'll give you a post-implementation webinar, or as we're doing a Google Hangout, to remind you of the breakthrough events, some of the sessions, and some of the takeaways that you should now be doing in your business. So fire away, Nick.
Well, I mean, one of the things that we've had a lot of feedback about is the fact that the camaraderie and the experience that everyone's been having as a result of coming along to the breakthrough event has been absolutely fantastic. And Kate and I and Neil and Karen have been enjoying, especially reading through some of the feedback that you've presented to us. A lot of people saying there were some great guest speakers, which is really nice to hear, because as you know, the idea of the breakthrough event is to put some of our customers and some guys that we've helped over the years onto the stage to tell their stories to you about how they implemented and how they break through to success, from actually being sat in an audience to being on the platform, on the stage, and telling their story. Now, I hope you'll agree that each of the guys that came along to speak for us, and they were all men this time round, it's not always the case, had different challenges that they face. And we use the word challenges rather than problems, because that's I suppose what they are, they're challenges that can be overcome. And a lot of you were saying in the feedback as well about the great sessions. You particularly enjoyed the fact that we gave out those blueprint handouts. But the purpose of this particular webinar isn't really to recap any of those presentations, but it's more so to show you how you can begin implementing the ideas, the tips, the techniques, and the strategies that we shared with you. And maybe that you can use this webinar as an addition to your own notes that you've made on what you want to go through first. Because putting a strategy into place, how we can put things into place, one thing at a time, using a to-do list, or as Neil likes to use, a great big whiteboard. What do we do? How do we prioritize those things? And how do we make sure we make the most of the opportunity that we've got in front of us?
Absolutely. And I think hopefully you all went away with your own notes as well, picked up the slides, and as Nick just said, it's okay then, what do I tackle first? Well, hopefully you'll be diving in, go back to your own notes, especially now. It's been what's this now, nearly 10 days, 12 days. So we need to be looking back and saying, okay, then what notes did I make? Now, we don't expect you to know everything or to take on board everything from every single speaker and every single session that Nick and I did, but go back to your notes and pick out things that resonated with you, things that you think, right, I can start with that now. Because the last thing we want to do is give you any overwhelm, because the last thing you should do is feel overwhelmed about moving forward and thinking, right, what do I do next? So just go back, go through your notes, and just put a star next to the points that really resonated with you. So it might be Nick's session about how to get going, doing the short reports. That's probably a vital thing to do if you haven't got a business up and running now. And you know what? Even if you have got a business with a product up and running now, could one of those short reports that Nick showed you complement what you're doing? So it's the same thing for two different types of people. If you're brand new, still wanting your first business, go back to Nick's session, go back to his notes and have a look and say, right, what's that first product, that first short report that I can do now? Because I started both Junior Soccer Coach and the Public Domain for Profit business using that exact same model that Nick outlined. In fact, the Junior Soccer Coach one was slightly different because it wasn't a short report, it was a short audio. Same thing, it's a short product to get that introduction product up there. But the Public Domain for Profit one, which is a, want of a better word, a six-figure business standalone, was actually started the exact same model that Nick showed you, a short report on that topic. So just go back and think, okay then, this is what I need to do. Nick showed me the path, let me go and start it now.
Now, one of the reasons I wanted to share the simple product profit formula with you was because of the principle that you need to reach your epiphany moment quickly, and creating a short report for a small amount of money that you sell online is going to be not only very short compared to creating a more detailed product. Is quite a shorter amount of time in order to create that, but there's also going to be less price resistance from your target marketplace as well. So yeah. Not only will it be easier for you to create this, not only will it be quicker for you to create this, the fact is you will get your first sale much more quickly. Or if you've already got a series of small reports up and running online, it will allow you to create your second product, your third product, your fourth product, and then you can daisy chain those together so you can actually create them into more substantial products, which will sell for a higher price, which means then the whole thing starts to snowball forward. So that's a great way to do that. Now, one of the other things that I picked up on from one of our guest speakers, Rob Cornish, who he didn't hear my presentation about the simple product profit formula. However, a lot of what he was saying was very similar to that particular presentation. But there was one thing that did stick out in my mind when he was talking about the niches that he was looking at as well, and that was the fact that he had an interest in the first niche that he was working on, which was those metal lunch boxes. Now, he said it wasn't a product, if you remember this, it wasn't a product that made him a fortune, but it was a product that he had an interest in, and that interest was enough to keep him motivated in order to finish that project, to complete it. Because as well as learning all these little things that were involved in setting up a website and registering a domain name and maybe uploading the website and packaging the product and setting up a PayPal button, these are all skills that you could take on to the next project, which might have a little bit more commerciality. But he had that passion there. And I think when we talk about passion, what we really need to do is we need to start thinking about how that passion can be used as a positive driving force into our business. And by that, I mean, think about why you want to do this. What are your goals? Why are you wanting to start your home-based business? Because if you have that goal in mind, sometimes when you're feeling that, maybe, the pub's calling to you, or maybe that movie, or catching up on TV, or what have you, and you're being forced into that inertia and that inaction, maybe sort of having a goal in mind and having an interest in your first product is going to help you to overcome some of those things that play tricks on our mind to stop us actually achieving what it is that we want to do. And I know goals are really important with you, Neil. Perhaps you can give us a few more tips about maybe setting smart goals and how they've helped you in your business.
Yeah, I think one of the points we put on the slide there, Nick, is selfish and have a selfish goal. Now, when you speak to people, especially with goals, there's a tendency to say, listen, I'm doing this for my family, or I'm doing this for my partner, or I'm doing this for somebody else as well as for me. But I'm going to, every time I say this, I always try and quantify it by saying, listen, I'm not being a devil on somebody's shoulder here, but you must have a selfish goal which is just for you. And the great analogy I can give is, on an aeroplane when they do the safety briefing, and they say when the oxygen, or if not when, if the oxygen mask falls down from the ceiling, put your own mask on first. Now, that's not being selfish to say save yourself. That is, look after yourself first, which will then enable you to go and help other people. And if we take that analogy and put it back into your goals, yes, you should have a rounded amount of goals, which include family, friends, etc., if you wish. But you've got to have your own selfish goal. You've got to have your reason why you're doing this, because that's the driver for you. And I'll guarantee if you have a goal which is for somebody else, and I'll argue this until people are blue in the face, when things go wrong, it's your selfish goal which will carry you forward. If it's a goal for somebody else, psychologically, deep in your mind, you'll be thinking, well, listen, I'm not really bothered about that because it's not for me. And I know that's strange to say, but you must always have a selfish goal, your reason why you're doing this, because that will carry you forward and enable you to hit the other goals that you've set, which will include family and friends and altruistic goals as well. But so when I say have a selfish goal, it's not that you should forget about everybody else. It's the driving factor for you. Because I have selfish goals for me, which ultimately mean I will hit my goals to help the other goals that I've set as well. Does that make sense, Nick? I don't know if I've explained that very well.
I think it does. I mean, what I'll do, if I also talk about somebody, I'll call him by his first name, just Paul. Paul's got a goal for his business, and we were talking to him at Breakthrough. Paul's goal is the fact that he wants to get involved with charitable giving on a ratio of 10%, 90%. What's great about Paul is the fact that he doesn't want to give 10% to charity. He wants to give 90% to charity. And he's got a very altruistic viewpoint of his reason for being here and for helping other people. But he also knows that he can't give to charity unless he's looked after himself first, and then he's able to give to charity. Oh, well, this is interesting. Sorry, just 1 second.
Yep, I'm still here.
Somebody was trying to get hold of me on Skype. I do apologise for that. I thought I'd say
proves it's live.
does prove it's live. So there's an altruistic thing that he's doing, but so he's not being selfish, but he's got his real reason why he wants to do that. So make sure you've got a definite purpose in what it is you're trying to do. What would it mean to you if you were successful? What would it mean to you and your family? I've been able to do wonderful things as a result of running an online business. One of the things I'm most proud of is sending both boys to private school, which I would not have been able to do had I still been employed and had a job. So there are different things that you can do, and it's full of life experiences, and that's a great thing to do. So goals are great. Having a good reason why. A selfish goal. Perhaps you want to help others. Perhaps you want to get involved with some charity as well. But a definite purpose will really, really help you, especially on days when you're thinking about not taking action and letting inactivity set in. Now,
and when things go wrong as well, Nick, isn't it? When things go wrong, which they will, because if you're doing stuff happens, and it doesn't always happen the way we want it to be. It's your goal, your reason why, which will push you through that.
And even things like Neil, like things going on with Webinar Jam and Hangouts and Skype calls coming in from America as well. So goals are really important. So let's go back and let's have a look at something else that we firmly believe could be a trip wire, something that might trip you up and stop you in your tracks, having come along to breakthrough event. And what do I mean by that? It's about time. One of the excuses, and I will use the word excuses here. One of the excuses that we often hear is, I don't have the time to do this, or I don't have the time to do that. Now, I think it's all a matter of priorities, and I do realise that some people have more commitments than others, and some people have larger families, or they have more responsibilities at work. But we're all born with the fact that we each have 24 hours in a day. And we need to decide how we're going to live each of those 24 hours. So if you're going to want to have the time to devote to setting up and running a profitable online business, I believe that you're already using 24 hours in your day already. I mean, you'd be Marty McFly to be able to do anything different. However, what you really need to decide is what you're going to give up in order to make the time to set up your online business and actually put these techniques and these tactics into action. So it could be as simple as one idea for you is to find an hour a day by getting up half an hour earlier and going to bed half an hour later. That's one thing that you can do. So it's not necessarily just about time management, it's about devoting that time as well. And I know Neil's got some ideas on this for you as well, but I also want to say that it's far better to do one positive thing for your business every day and to try and find a half an hour or an hour than it is to do nothing all week and then try and find 5 hours on a Saturday or a Sunday before you go back to work.
Absolutely agree.
And especially if you're going to use outsourcers to do some work for you, because in the half hour or the hour you've got each day, you will be able to set them an outsourcer or somebody from Elance, which is now called Upwork.com, or somebody from Fiverr.com. You can maybe on Monday you can say, could you design me a logo? On Tuesday it's ready for you to review, so you can ask for the changes, and on Wednesday it's ready for you to upload to, I don't know, your Google Hangout page or your Facebook channel or something, or your YouTube channel or something. However, if you spend all day Saturday or the 5 hours on Saturday to do these things, it would be until the next Saturday before you could actually ask for the changes or put into action what's been made. So it's far better to do little and often than it is to do nothing and then something great for a short burst of time.
Yeah, completely agree. And the one way I do that, I use a simple calendar and scheduler. And I've talked about this before, but I'll briefly go over it. I have a A4 piece of paper, which I've then broken up into the weeks and days of the month. So if it's 4 or 5 weeks, it will have, Monday to Sunday, week 1, Monday to Sunday, week 2, Monday to Sunday, week 3, Monday to Sunday, week 4. And each month I'll go in and I'll actually, the end of the month before, I'll go and have a look at my diary, and I'll pick up this sheet of paper and I'll block off the days which I've got stuff in already. So, for example, the breakthrough event, I knew that Friday was out because we'd be traveling down. Saturday and Sunday were out because we were at the breakthrough event, and I also allowed Monday day off to recover, although it took a bit extra when the cold hit, I'll tell you that. But I knew the month before, by looking at this sheet of paper, that those 4 days were completely out, so I couldn't schedule any work in for those 4 days. Then I also know that I've got days out booked in already, whether it's an appointment for a dentist or taking a little lad to nursery or whatever. I have all that scheduled in. And then on a weekly basis, I have Monday to Friday. I have it broken down into mornings and afternoons. So if, for example, I knew I was out at the dentist, I could just put a cross next to the afternoon and say, right, I'm out that afternoon. And then I can plan my work around the time I know I've got available. But most of all, it's making you honest. And when I say honest is, if you actually go in and cross off all the things that you have booked in already. Now, that could be work, but it could be you may have a social evening. It could be parents' evening. You may run a football team, a badminton team, whatever that is. If you actually put that in and then have a look at what time you've got available, that's being honest with yourself that you've got time available, rather than saying, okay, then this week I'm going to do 40 hours on my business when you haven't got 40 hours available. By looking at a sheet of paper with time blocked out of things you've got in already, you can then be honest with yourself and say, you know what, with work and my commitments I've got here, I've actually only got 5 hours this week to work on my business. But that's okay. If you've got 5 hours, 5 hours is fine, as long as you are now honest with yourself. And as Nick said, you then put in the work that you're going to do for those 5 hours and work it.
I think you're absolutely right, Neil. And the other thing is, sort of be honest with yourself in terms of, what your capabilities are in reaching deadlines, and actually set deadlines as well. Sometimes having the idea of deadlines actually spurs you in to actually accomplish those goals as well. So, don't be afraid of setting deadlines. They're going to help you. You might miss a few, but I guarantee you're going to hit more of them if you've written them down than you are if you just go through life not writing down a to-do list or writing down.
And I've got to do that, Nick. We shared at the breakthrough event and I'm not joking. I am the world's worst procrastinator. I am the world's worst procrastinator. If I can put something off, I will do that. Now, I've got better over the years. I've had to do, because of running your own business. There's no way to hide. But like I said, if I've got 2 weeks to do to put a webinar together, I'll spend the first 12 days of those 14 moaning and groaning, and then heads down for the last 2 and get it done. But if you get into the habit of scheduling when you're going to do the work, and then realizing the time you've got available and working to that time available, you'll start to get into the habit of, okay, now I've got an hour this Tuesday evening. I am now working for this hour of the Tuesday evening, and then stopping. You'll be far more productive.
Now, I think it became apparent with a couple of things that happened at Breakthrough event that there were a couple of things that went wrong, Neil. Some of the things that went not according to plan. Some of the challenges that we faced, which everyone will be able to remember if I sort of bring your attention back to it, was we weren't online with our computers when our first guest presenter took to the stage. Mark, we didn't realize he wanted to go to the internet, and we thought he was just going to be using the keynote presentation or the PowerPoint presentation to illustrate a few points. The challenge that we faced was the fact that he wanted to go online, so we had to look at that challenge, and we had to overcome some issues, some technical issues. So the reason I'm bringing this up is the fact that once we'd done that internet part, we had to then manipulate the computers to put them back to how they were beforehand, which was a bit of a challenge for us. no matter who you are and how experienced you are, you will always face problems and obstacles. Now, sometimes these are obstacles that are inside your own head, and we spoke about procrastination and inertia and the things that stop you from taking action. That's like an internal obstacle. An external obstacle is when someone else or something else or a piece of technology, you believe that they're just sort of trying to make your life difficult. And it does happen to everyone, and it happens all the time. But it's how, as an entrepreneur, as a forward-thinking business owner, and as somebody that succeeds, how you handle some of those things, because whether you handle them properly or perhaps you don't know how to handle them, they can be the difference between success and failure. And I know that, Neil, you've got a few tips for breaking these kind of problems down into bite-sized chunks and how you handle those in your business. Perhaps you can tell us a few of those things that you do.
Yeah, I will try and break something down, and there are so many different ways that you can handle this. There's no right or wrong way. You've got to find a way that works for you. One when I'm looking at doing a project, as Nick said, I will break it down into bite-sized chunks, and I will then allocate time to work on that project. But I will then say, okay, then I'm going to work for 50 minutes out of this hour, and I'll get my head down, and I will turn everything else off, Skype off, Facebook off, email off, and I'll work for 50 minutes on that section of my project, for want of a better word, or on my business. But after 50, I sort of challenge myself to get it done within those 50 minutes. And in those 50 minutes, I will actually stop, and then I'll get up and have a walk around, go make a drink maybe, go and play with the dog if I'm working from home. And the reason I do that is because your body needs a break. And if you continually just head down, head down, head down, head down, and keep working, it's actually detrimental after a period of time. That it's the law of diminishing returns, that the more effort you try and put in without a break, the less effective you will be. And if you do have any problems along the way, which, like we said, you will experience them, having that break actually disconnects the brain from trying to work out what's gone wrong. And if you've got a dog, take the dog for a walk. If you haven't got a dog, imagine you've got one and go for a walk, because the act of borrow Nick's.
But borrow someone's.
Sorry?
But borrow anyone, borrow a neighbour's.
Yeah, borrow any dog on there. But the act of getting out into the fresh air, I know Nick does this quite a lot, is actually a disconnect and allows your brain to relax. And many a time, I'll be surprised if you don't actually, in the middle of your walk or when you come back, find the solution to the problem that you are having, or find a way to get back to find the answer to that solution, if that makes sense. It's just the act of getting away from your desk, getting away from the computer, getting out into the fresh air, disconnecting from what the problem was and forgetting about it, enjoying the walk, taking the dog out, whatever it is, go for a bike ride, actually coming back, you'll come back refreshed. And like we said on the slide there, you've got to be bold and brave, and fortune, whatever people say, does favour the brave. And the screw it, let's do it is a Richard Branson saying, isn't it? What's the worst that can happen? That's where you got to look at it. What's the worst that can happen? If I press this button, what is the worst that can happen? If I put this new product out there, what's the worst that can happen?
The reason that we put this up, don't be scared, just get on with it, just do it, is because it comes up time and time again that some people just don't get started because they're afraid of failure, and that is the one thing that is completely daft about the idea of procrastination and not doing something. Is the fact that you'll fail by default if you don't actually have a try. If you're not in the race, if you're not in the game, then you can't actually be successful. And what is the worst that can happen? This isn't like being a brain surgeon or a heart surgeon or something. Nobody's going to die if your simple product isn't going to win an English writing award or a literary award or something like that. So have a go. I mean, what is the worst that can happen? Maybe you're going to sell a copy and maybe someone's going to want a refund. That is the worst that can happen. What's the best that can happen? You become a best-selling author. So don't sit back and fear the unknown. Just get out there. I love the infographics that you sometimes see on Facebook, which is the idea of this is where here's your comfort zone and here's where the magic happens. It's do something different, because what's that other saying, Neil? If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always had. So just do it, and once you start to take action, I think you can build up some momentum. It's a little bit like many things in life, I guess, that once you've started to move, once the QE2 has started to pull away from the key side, it's easier to keep the things moving. So consistency is key. I mentioned it earlier on with time management and the fact that you want to be able to do little and often. Neil's point was don't do anything, don't do nothing and then cram. So let's be consistent with this. It's interesting
sorry, Nick. It's interesting what you said before about how to get past this paralysis sometimes, and we see it a lot of the time. People wanting it to be perfect and 100%, absolute perfection before they release something. Where a lot of the time there was a good thing that we talked about in our mastermind, which is the 80% rule. Sometimes things in the info product world can be released and out to customers when I say 80% complete, which is 80% complete is very, very good to get it out there, and you can get feedback from your customers. And then you've got the remaining 20%. So what you need to do then is look at completing 80% of the remaining 20%, and then look at completing the 80% of the remaining, 80. It's hard to do without drawing it out, and maybe we could do a small session in the future, Nick, about this 80% rule. But when you look at something in the information marketing world, the 80% done would have all the information that you need. It would have it in a presentable format. But be honest with yourself, it's not going to be 100% perfect, because if you wait for something to be 100% perfect, you'll never get it out there. Now, if you're a brain surgeon, I want you to be 100%. That's slightly different. We're talking in the info marketing world. But you can get it out there at 80%, because that's very, very good. And then get the feedback from the market and let them tell you what they like and don't like as well. Now, what I'm not saying is put out rubbish. What the 80% rule is, recognizing that 80% in the information marketing world is actually very good. And in book terms, you may have a 100, 200 page book and may have half a dozen spelling errors or grammatical errors in there out of 16,000, 20,000 words. I would rather have those half a dozen errors and it out there selling than waiting for it to be perfect.
Absolutely, and I've heard it a few times from different people, being said in different ways. That just get the rough diamond out, and sometimes you can actually have your marketplace telling you, and your customers telling you what to improve and what they're happy with, and maybe giving you ideas for a second chapter or a second book or a second product or what have you. So get out there, and then you can obviously polish it up, but move on to product number 2, which is really important as well.
No, I would love to say that the Internet Marketing Review newsletter is perfect every time it goes out, but first issue was December 2000. So where are we now? October 2016. So 16 years on. And several times a year, I do get people emailing in, so you made a mistake on this page, or this page had a grammatical error. And you know what? I take it on board. I will always go for a continuous improvement. But if I tried to make it perfect, I would never have got it out there. Now I've had it out there 16 years. And I know that some of the people who've emailed in have yet to release their product. So again, I would still always stress that you go for continuous improvement. Don't put shoddy stuff out on purpose, but don't expect it to be perfect before you release it.
The other thing I was going to flash up to the camera up here is I've written up this business model, and I would be going nuts if I tried to put this entire business model online all at the same time. I can't do it. It's weeks worth of work, but it's a plan of what I'm going to achieve. It's laid out in a logical format for me to follow, but I know little and often, and that business plan will be up. And the thing that makes me smile the most about this is I don't know if you can see that there as well, but there's lots of X's. But the fact is, that's a $1 million business plan. I know I can't walk into the bank, show it to my bank manager, and show them my because it's not presented in a way that the bank would normally expect to see a business plan. However, the fact is, the fact that, there's something that needs to be broken down into bite-sized chunks, into smaller things, and then regularly and consistently. What I now need to be doing is I need to be adding to my actions until I've got everything that's on that plan all sorted out as well. So we're doing that all the time. Just sort of consistent things broken down into actionable steps, step-by-step things, and that allows us to move on in leaps and bounds with our business. So it's maybe a technique you want to adopt for yourself as well. Okay, let's talk about 5 of the top 5, Neil.
Yeah, it's something, if you find yourself being overwhelmed in what you need to do in your business, just pick 5 things that you're going to work on and focus on them for the week. And it's the perfect example of what Nick's just said and shown you with his plan there. There was more than 5 things on that. But if you just focus on 5, it's a corporate saying, 5 off the top. What are the 5 things we're going to focus on this month to move the business forward? That's what we did. And it might be, okay, then I need to get my short report put together. I need to put my landing page together. I need to put an autoresponder in place, the domain and hosting. There you go, done. That's all you need to do. They're the 5 things you're working on this month. And it's, as we put there, it's the 5 things that you get the fastest, the quickest, the biggest return on your time for your money. it will get you to that epiphany moment that Nick just spoke about when we first started this, about getting that first sale, getting the first opt-in, getting that first sale, and that will get you motivated and keep you moving forward.
Remember, the idea of the epiphany moment here is the fact that if you can make your first sale, you've actually done over 80% of the work getting your first sale. The final 20% is getting sales, sort of 2 to 999 if you like. And if you've made your first sale, then there's no reason why you can't make 10 sales. If you've made 10 sales, there shouldn't be any reason why you can't make 100 sales and go from there. But let's be honest about it. There are things that you need to do. You don't have to do it all yourself, though. So once you've picked your 5 of the top 5, think about whether they're things that you want to have accomplished this week by yourself or by somebody else. Because let's face it, the PowerPoint slide that you're looking at right now with the little white dude in the magnifying glass, there's no way I could have drawn him to that high quality specification. I couldn't have put such a good looking sort of PowerPoint slide together. If I'd done it, I would imagine it would have been brown in color, Neil, because that's how most of my pictures turned out at nursery.
Yeah.
I used to mix all the paints together and it always came back as a brown soggy mess. And so I haven't got good graphic design skills, and I think Neil's also been quite quick to confirm that his graphic design skills are probably about the same as mine. So we outsource the things that we aren't strong at, and in fact that's something that maybe you want to think about, and that's to employ people that are more highly qualified or better at something than you are.
Yeah, I think all the speakers spoke about outsourcing, but the two that really stood out were Mark and Tom, because Mark has partnered with and working with a lot of people in his business, both past and present. And Tom showed right at the beginning how he actually went out and found people to work with to help him develop the products, whether they were physical or digital ones, going forward. And I think looking at the most successful businesses, it's the most successful businesses that want to grow and have the free time as well, that master the art of outsourcing and working with people to do the things that they can't do. Now, as I said at the Breakthrough event, you can have a 6-figure information marketing business and you're doing everything. You can't. It's possible. You'll be working hard, but that's not a bad thing. You appreciate it's when you reach that point and go, okay, then I've got everything together. I'm spinning all the plates. I don't want to be doing this. So even if you can do something sometimes, you've got to take a step back and say, okay, then if I get somebody else to do that for me, so you might enjoy doing customer service in your business. Now, you should never abdicate customer service, but you can outsource it and then become a manager of the person who looks after it. So rather than answering all the support queries that come in, what you do is look at the support queries that are coming in, look at how they're answered, and make sure it's to your standard. But I'll give you a prime example. One of my private clients that we work with, and Nick knows them as well, they were doing a lot of their customer service. And I know they were doing far too much. They were doing everything from, I can't get my download, I've lost my password. They were doing everything. So I got them to actually start noting down the time they spent on customer service. And to be honest, now they are honest, because they're the type of person I know that we work with, and I know they were going to be honest. And we looked at it next time we met up. They were spending 40 hours plus a month on customer service. They were spending 1 week of what we would know as work just doing customer service. And they were saying they didn't have time to do some of the marketing, some of the other stuff in the business which they needed to do. So what they did, we said, okay, then we'll start small. We'll bring somebody in to do 1 hour a day, just support work to help brush up on the, I've lost my password, where do I get my download from? We didn't bring in 40 hours, we just brought in 1 hour a day. So that was 5 hours a week. So that came in, and then slowly but surely that increased to 2 hours, that increased to 3 hours, that increased to 4 hours, and now that person does very little hands-on customer service anymore. They just go in and check to make sure things are being looked after and are being answered to their standards. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, it does. And the other thing I was going to mention about outsourcing and deciding on what it is you do and don't want to do. Sometimes it's not always about finding somebody like the example I gave you with the graphic design. Our graphic designer is better than an art than we can do. Sometimes it's also about bringing things down to lifestyle and the level of the work commitment and what you want to do. And the reason I mention that is I was just sort of looking behind me. When I was at the Breakthrough event, we printed out, in fact, I've got some of them down here. We printed out some of the products that we've got. And it was only then I realized exactly how much proofreading I'd given Kate to do. And then realized that actually her time is better spent, not proofreading. And it's a huge commitment. And while she's very good at proofreading, while she's doing a very good job with that, I realized that there were other people that could do proofreading, and it was a weight off her shoulders. It's better use of our time, especially when we realized we could find a great proofreader for just $12 an hour.
Yeah.
And then it comes into also working out, what your time is worth, and why would you be doing work that you could get somebody else to do for $12 an hour? That's less than what, £6-7 an hour in UK. So there's another way of looking at things as well, and that was the fact that you don't have to do everything in your business, even if you can.
Yes.
So to give you another example of that, I outsourced today to my son, which was quite useful.
Child labour.
It was, and the brief today was the fact we had all the videos back. You'll be pleased to hear we've had all the videos back from the video editor for the Breakthrough event that happened, as you know, just sort of 10 days ago or so. All the videos have been uploaded to the internet, so we had to make pages on a private website for the Breakthrough event VIP delegates, and I made one page. And I showed him how to clone those pages, rename them, make changes, and he worked for 3 hours this afternoon finishing things off. So again, I mean, sometimes you can delegate and you can outsource to people on Fiverr. Sometimes you might find that person a little bit closer to home, but don't feel you have to do it all yourself. And I think he's done a great job. So everyone on the webinar, by the way, you should have had an email. And that email should have given you some details about where you can log in and watch those videos. And we'll also put the video of this particular webinar replay. We'll put that on the site for you as well.
Certainly will.
Okay. One of the things I want to talk to you guys about as well is about accountability. So let me just flash up the screen here again. There we go. So now hopefully you can see that. Can you see the screen there, Neil?
Yep.
Brilliant. Okay, and hopefully Paul, Amanda, John, Martin, and all the rest of you guys can see that as well. So let's talk about accountability and accountability partners. Now, this actually comes down to a strategy that we normally use in our mastermind group, where we pair off people in the group to talk to each other until the next meeting. So this is a technique that can be applied to you in your business as well, whether you're in a mastermind group or a membership site or not. So why don't you take that strategy of having a gym buddy or somebody that you normally go off, and do something with, to your business strategy as well? Is there somebody that you met at Breakthrough event? Is there somebody that you know in business? Is there a friend of yours that you can actually make that commitment to and be held accountable to? So you're not just answering to your own conscious or subconscious, you're answering to somebody else. A hugely powerful technique. Neil, I don't know if you got any other accountability tips and tricks.
Yeah. Well, I want to stress this: an accountability partner for each other. I mean, we say hold your feet to the flame. The way I can put it, this is not an excuse to have a pity party. What we don't want with an accountability partner is when you say, listen, things have gone wrong this week, I've not been able to do this, this, and this, and your accountability partner goes, yeah, I know how bad it is. Yeah, I've had the same thing. And then it's just like a downward spiral. Accountability partner, you're there to empathize and not sympathize. And this, again, I've got to quantify this so it doesn't sound like I'm being a little devil on your shoulder. There's a difference between empathy and sympathy. Okay, let me tell you what that is. Sympathy is when somebody is in a hole and they say, listen, I'm in a hole, I can't get out. And what you do, you climb down in the hole with them and say, yeah, it is bad down here, but don't worry, I'll be here with you, we'll mope together. That's sympathy. Empathy is where somebody says, I'm in a hole, it's bad down here, and you look over, you don't climb down, you look over and go, yeah, it is pretty bad down there. However, here's my hand, let me help you out. That's the difference between sympathy and empathy. You must empathize with somebody and then help them get out of the situation that they're in. So bringing that back to accountability, if your partner that you partner up with, if they're having a bad time, say, okay, then how can we fix this? Don't go, okay, I agree with you, and yeah, it is really bad, okay? I hope I've explained that right. It's all about, okay, then, last week when we spoke, you said you were going to do this, this, and this. What have you done? And you go, well, I've managed to do this and this, but I haven't been able to do the third thing. And you say, okay, then, why haven't you been able to do the third thing? Well, it's because of this. Great, how can we fix that? And then you reverse the roles and ask the other person, you say, okay, then what have you done? Well, last week you said you were going to do this, this, and this. Have you done it? And it's a way to be motivating and accountable to each other. And it's a case of when you jump on Skype or jump on the phone together, you know that you promise that you're going to work and do something, and it's not letting each other down. And this is one of the great things I found when I first joined my first mastermind over in the States. I wasn't too sure of what to expect, but I suddenly soon realized that, okay, then the next mastermind meeting's coming along, and last time I said I was going to do A, B, and C, and D, I better have got it done for when I joined that mastermind, because it was great for accountability and great for help. But I tell you what, if you haven't done what you said you were going to do, they soon ribbed you. They helped you get forward, but they didn't let you forget that you said you were going to do X, Y, and Z.
In fact, a lot of the people that we've been speaking to who have applied to join Peak Performers, one of the things that they've said is the fact that they do want to become part of an exclusive group where they do have that level of accountability. So Peak Performers as a coaching group will help you to overcome some of those issues of inertia. But what also they'll help you to achieve are things that are going to be more hands-on for your business as well, to help you to implement better communication between yourself and your customers, to put together some of those campaigns and help you to communicate in a much better way as well. It's also a coaching group that can help each other with regard to things like traffic sources, so to help just pull sort of everything together as well. So I mean, whilst Neil and I both want to be a champion of Peak Performance, and obviously we highly recommend it, what I think we recommend anyway is the fact that you must become accountable to other people, and that really will help you to achieve your goals. If you break down those problems, those challenges you have into smaller bite-sized chunks, and you have a reason why you want to do that, great things are going to happen in your business. We see people fail because they feel that they're on their own. The problem is too big, they're afraid of failing, and they don't know where to start. So getting involved in some kind of coaching program, some kind of membership site, some kind of, I don't know, fraternity, whatever, will help you to pull it all together. And that will help you to pull it all together faster than anything else. I mean, I guarantee it's going to help you to get going, more quickly than just working on your own. And you get a huge sense of achievement as well when you're working in a group, because it's not just your success that you can celebrate. It's also the celebration of your fellow group members as well. It can help to cause an upward spiral of energy. I think that's the only way that I can describe that. When you are in a group of like-minded people, I mean, Neil, you must have felt like this with your mastermind group as well, that the power in the room with movers and shakers and action takers, you actually come out truly inspired, and you can believe that you can achieve so much more. And there's a lot of adrenaline, I suppose, as well when you're part of a group like that.
It is, and I make no apologies about the unashamedable plug to say, for those considering Peak Performers, then yes, Nick will talk about how you can actually apply for Peak Performers, but you should do it, and I make no apology for that, for the exact same reason that Nick has just said. Worst case scenario, get yourself an accountability partner. Work together. Worst case, get that person. You'll see the benefit of just working with an accountability partner. But to come on leaps and bounds, to have that group, to have that backing, to have that help and support of an environment like Peak Performers, over the next 12 months, you will see your business not just grow steadily, but like a hockey stick, exponential growth will happen because of the help and support that you'll get from Nick and I, but importantly, the ability of surrounding yourself with like-minded people, because it's not just Nick and I that will be able to help you. You'll have experiences yourself, and your fellow peak performers will have the same, will have their experiences, and it's that shared pool of knowledge, that shared support network that will actually move you forward quicker than what you thought before. And I have seen the great things that have happened in our mastermind over the last 12 months. And Nick and I have big goals for peak performers. And like we said at the breakthrough event, the peak performers people are the people who will get priority consideration into mastermind. And we'll only consider, people for peak performers and into mastermind that we want to work with. So we're looking forward to the next 12 months together with peak performers, because we know what's going to happen with the people in that group and how their businesses are going to grow. We're on a mission, if want of a better word. And like I said, I make no apology for that. We're on a mission to move people's businesses forward. This business has been very, very kind to Nick and I, but it's because of the work that we've put in and the help that we've had along the way. And Nick and I have known each other for a long time now, and the ability to bounce ideas off each other has been exceptional. Has been, you can't put a price on that. And now the ability in the mastermind and peak performers, we want to drag people kicking and screaming if needs be to get you, not the epiphany moment. That's a given for people in peak performers. We're talking about that first £10,000 or dollar month, that first £20,000 or dollar month. And if you've not done anything up to now, it's the first sale.
No, £10,000 day. That'd be good.
Yay, there you go. Yeah.
But the and the reason the reason for mentioning all these strategies for you is I also want to make you aware that not everyone gets into peak performers. We would like, if you've been to Breakthrough event and you're on this webinar, I'm sure you will qualify. However, the point of saying that not everyone qualifies for peak performers is because this is for people that take action and have shown themselves to be action takers. And I think, as Neil quite eloquently put it at the Breakthrough event, no idiots are allowed. And that should actually reassure some of the people that want to apply. In fact, if you're worried about not getting in because you're an idiot, that's not something I wanted to you to be worried about. But what I want you to do is be reassured that actually there is kind of like this idiot filter. And we've all been to them. We've all been to some low cost events, and you get sat next to somebody that perhaps has got hope in hell of fighting their way out of a paper bag or getting home without getting lost. So they're not going to be in peak performance. This is for people that have got the gumption to actually take some action and to put their plans into action as well.
Yeah. So if you would like. Yeah, you're right there, Nick. You said the right word, didn't you? Gumption. That's a brilliant word. You got the gumption. And like I said at the event, it's not about being the smartest person in the room, and you shouldn't be the smartest person in the room, because you should be learning off each other. But I'll tell you what, the people that we have in peak performers will have life experience, and they'll be able to bring their life experience to the benefit of the group. And I keep going back to it, but Nick and I, it's the mission within peak performers to have that group steamrolling forward with their businesses, and Nick and I will be there to help and support you every step of the way.
And I think the other thing is that you should want to apply to something like that. Now, Neil and I have been selling online. Neil 1999, I think it was, myself 2001. We know how to put up an automated payment button where you can go and fill in a form, and you could use PayPal or what have you to buy something from a webinar. We know how to do that. We've been doing it for years. However, I also remember the first sale that Neil made online, and how that happened and the steps that were required in order to make that process work. Very similar to the way that I started online, with somebody actually sending me a check through the post.
Yep.
So one of the idiot checks, if you will, is the fact that to apply, firstly, you actually have to put pen to paper. In fact, we're not really interested in payment information anyway. We're interested in knowing about you and whether you're a good fit. So if you would like to apply for peak performers, it's a question of, actually, if I'm being brutally honest, there are barriers in the way between anybody getting into peak performers, and one of them is to actually print out a good old-fashioned application form, and maybe even pop it back in the post or scan it or have you, so for us to see that. Obviously, if you're a breakthrough, we'd have handed you a piece of paper, but I think it should be reassuring for you to know, whilst we do know how to set something up for its technology, for it to work very well online, we're actually putting some steps in place to actually put some barriers in place to make sure the people that do apply for Peak Performers are the ones that are prepared to jump through a few hoops. That's one of the tests. However, if you do want to download an application form, and I thoroughly recommend that you do download it and take a look at that, you just need to click the orange button that's over on the right-hand side of the Google Hangout window. What will happen, just so you know, is once you send that back to us, we will get on the phone with you. And we'll talk about your wants, needs, and desires, and what it is you're currently looking to achieve. We'll look at some of the things that you've already done in the past, and we will then talk to you about how we can help make that happen, and really about, you know, what it would mean for you in order for that to happen. And the one thing that, you know, the one thing that's, I don't know, that you really just want Peak Performers to be able to do for you, and we all do our damnedest to make that happen for you as well. So if you want to apply for Peak Performers, that's the way that you do that. If you know somebody that would enjoy joining Peak Performers with you, then do let them know that we're going to have a webinar on Monday, and look out for details about that. I think those emails are going to go out to people on lists, so you may well see an email for another webinar that we have on Monday about 7:30 as well. So if you see that invitation, feel free to share that with other people that you think might benefit as well. They don't necessarily have to be in the business of selling information products. The Peak Performers group will actually help somebody no matter what industry they're in. So that's just something for you to be on the lookout for as well. But right now, if you haven't already applied to join Peak Performers, and I know there's a couple of people on this webinar that showed interest, we're throwing the doors open to other people on Monday. So here's the scarcity part, okay? And this is real life scarcity. I've just told you about this other webinar. There are only so many people that we can have into the Peak Performers group. It is filling up, and it's filling up fast. We've had lots of phone calls, both myself and Neil, since Breakthrough Event. If you're interested in Peak Performers, you came to Breakthrough Event and you haven't yet submitted your application form, get it into us before Monday, so you get ahead of the people that are going to be on that webinar on Monday, okay? And that's just down to the number of people that we can accept into the group. Neil, I don't know if you've got any other closing thoughts. I can't believe how quickly
time's flying by. So again, what you should do, right back at the beginning of this, we said go back to your notes from the weekend, pick out the 4 or 5 things that you want to work on. If you have got a business or you are looking to start a business, my recommendation is actually to go back to Nick's presentation that he did right at the beginning, which will help you focus and get that first simple short report, that product out there. Second, don't try and do everything yourself. If you need to have help along the way, and look at what you can outsource, look at where you can get other people to help you as well. Importantly, remember the time block. Don't sit down and go, right, what am I going to do now? Sit down knowing exactly what you're going to do and how much time you've got to spend on it, and be honest with yourself. As we've said, put down commitments that you already have in place, get them written down and plan your work around that, because then you can say, okay, then I'll actually have to stop one of my commitments that I'm doing this week. So say you go and meet some friends for a drink on a Tuesday night. You may have to say to them one Tuesday, listen, I can't make it this Tuesday. I've got stuff on already that you need to finish. By actually noting down that already, you can then make a considered decision of A, are you going, or B, do you have to knock it on the head for this week? But schedule your time that you're going to work. Don't just sit down and think, right, what am I going to do? Schedule your week out. You know what you're going to do. And as Nick said, little steps often are better than doing nothing for weeks on end and trying to do 2 full days at once. Little and often will always win the day.
There we go, wise words. Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining both myself and Neil on this webinar hangout. We've got to the end of the hour already. If you guys have got any questions about what we've gone through, or sort of anything to do with Peak Performers, then you can just reply to any of the emails that we send out, and we'll do our best to get back to you pretty much straight away as well. What we're going to do now, we'll stop the Google Hangout now. I'll then go and make sure that the webinar is in the Breakthrough Event members area. So not only can you go back and look at the simple product profit formula and all the videos that we recorded from the Breakthrough Event, you can also re-watch this implementation webinar as well. And that's what it's about. It's about implementing the blueprints, the tips and techniques that you learned at the UK Breakthrough event. So thanks for joining us. Neil, thank you as well for giving up some of your time and joining us on the Hangout. And if you enjoy these Hangouts, make sure you do keep an eye out on your email, because they could become an interactive part of the way that we communicate with you over the months ahead as well. So thanks very much indeed. All right, bye for now.